Whenever you say keep them running there's a lot of machines in Australia that have a high number of hours.
There is, and again, I mentioned MLG, the guys who come over to Hillhead with us, they would have 1480s with, 50, 60,000 hours. I'm not sure how many hours, but definitely, even a couple of years ago, I remember being surprised seeing machines in the high sort of 45, 48,000 hours. So, and those machines are still running. They never stop, really.
Hello and welcome to another episode of RockTalk with Finlay podcast. Today we're joined by Gerry McGuigan, Sales Manager from OPS, and Joe Donnelly, International Sales Director for Finlay. Gerry, nice for you to come with us and join the podcast. How are you feeling?
Welcome, Gerry.
Yeah, look, it's always good to get back over this part of the world. I'm always happy to come home and catch up with some people at the factory, and obviously Hillhead and family and friends this time. It's been a nice trip.
Good. So in Australia, Gerry, with two Australian dealers, OPS is one of them. Can you talk us through OPS and themselves, how it all started, the territories they currently serve for Finlay?
Yeah, so OPS have been around based out of Western Australia, headquartered in Perth. Been around since about 1989 and representing Finlay for over 30 years now.
30 years plus, yeah.
Originally selling other types of equipment as well, but really sort of started to get it specialised into the screening equipment at that point. We represent a few Terex brands out in Australia. So we do the Terex Magna and the EvoQuip Australia-wide, but we have always been doing the Finlay equipment, Western Australia, Northern Territory. And as I say, it's been ongoing for a long time prior to the crushers even being on the market. Selling the Finlay blockmakers, unrelated now, I know, but actually first machine I sold was another John Finlay machine, so one of the Finlay blockmakers. That's going back a few years. Took that order by fax, so that'll tell you what you need to know there. But yeah, really, we've just had big growth in the Finlay and went from strength to strength. Been really good to see the bigger machines come on over the years, and really took us from being operating in sand pits and small quarries, selling a few machines a year, to being quite a sizable operation and a really major player in the mobile crush and screening equipment across the smaller sites still. We've never forgot them, but through the recycling, all the quarrying, and lots of mining applications as well. So really quite varied.
Are OPS based in a few places across Australia? Have you a few branches, have you?
So yeah, we have the OPS group headquartered out of Perth, and in many ways it's opposite to a lot of other companies who are sort of based on the East Coast and slowly make the way across. But we've always headquartered out of there. I've always been based in Western Australia, but we do have the Northern Territory for Finlay as well. And then, as I mentioned, some of the other brands we sell, we've got branches Australia-wide distributing those products and building a big new facility in Goodna as well on the East Coast.
Coming soon, isn't it?
It's coming pretty soon, yeah.
Fairly shortly. Yeah. So, how many years have you been dealing with OPS from a sales perspective?
I first started dealing with OPS back in the year 2000, whenever I was the parts manager with Finlay here. My first trip, I think, to Australia with Finlay was in 2001, where I first met Shane and Tom and Sally back in the day with OPS, and then I did that job for 10 years, and I've been working very closely with Shane in the sales role with the sales of the Finlay equipment in Australia since 2014. So it's a long relationship that I have with OPS.
Good one.
Strong relationship. Yeah, it's quite successful.
And if we think about Australia and the market in Australia when it comes to Finlay machines, what's the kind of applications? What's the main application out there? Is the bigger stuff, is it?
Our applications are so varied. They're probably a really good mix of smaller jobs. Still, like I say, the smaller sand pits, smaller quarries, but probably what would swallow up the majority of machines would certainly be mining applications, where you're talking multiple machines in the application. With quite a lot of contractors out there, specialized crushing and screening contractors. Some of them really do focus on the quarrying and producing aggregates, but traveling around the different sort of remote sites for the major, the Borals and the Heidelbergs, producing their products on a sort of a campaign basis. But certainly a lot of the activity and a lot of the sort of exciting, really fast startup applications are in mining. Iron ore is consistent. It's big. It's massive. The equipment we sell is not on the scale that does any of the major iron ore mining. But there's so many other little operations that might be 700 or 800 kilometers from a port where they will, when the price is good, they'll want to ramp up quick, make as much product as they can, haul it by road to the port and put it on a ship. And when the price isn't good, they need to shut down just as quick. But even just recently, we've got a lot of lithium out there, and it's been down in the doldrums. But with the recent sort of Middle East activity and the price of fuel, and the EVs going through the roof, the demand, all the lithium is back on, and it can be pretty challenging application, quite large quantities, generally very abrasive material, trying to get it down to very small sizes, perhaps everything minus 10 mil, minus 8 mil for further processing. So the likes of that is really what's going on at the minute. And I like that it changes all the time. Gold's been crazy, but a lot of the gold's really at capacity. So at the minute, there's some interesting activity in old lithium mines restarting and a few new ones coming online as well.
Would the majority of the Finlay machines in the mining industry be mainly in the iron ore mines?
They're probably not, no. A lot of the times in the iron ore mines, it's very supplemental work. So it could be in the early days of construction of some of the major mines, you're producing material for the infrastructure they're putting in, whether it's fill material or some sort of material for their road construction. We do have quite a few plants making stemming for blast holes, so for the actual blasting on the mine sites and the iron ore. But the sort of scale a lot of those plants work on, it might be 10,000 ton an hour plants, massive fixed plants, loading trains. It's all really integrated with train lines running to ports. So if we are doing jobs there, it's like trying to bump up their tons at the end of a financial year. We're producing possibly material in a remote pit or some material they want to trial and produce, 100,000 ton of something and just see what the grades are. So it's quite a few of them end up in iron ore mines, but people tend to think they're frontline full production machines up there. While sometimes it is the case, you'd be running many plants. We have had times where there'd be customers, the likes of MLG, who run a large fleet of the equipment out there, and they might have 5 plants running, full production on an iron ore mine, but typically there'll be a fixed plant would really be a better option and would be what ultimately might end up replacing that.
Yeah. And when it comes to mine, just from my own understanding, is it mainly static stuff, like big static stuff when it comes to the actual mines themselves? And then is our machinery, like the Finlay machinery, is it then towards the end of the process when they're trying to, get it down to a smaller size? Or what way does that work?
It is so varied. In the iron ore, it is massive circuits, but they will sort of be, they'll be able to load into these with large haul trucks. It'll process the material down to, the final sizes. Typically, it might be a minus 6 mil and a 6 to 32 mil. Some sites are like a minus 10 mil all in, but they'll produce that material and it'll all be integrated. It'll stack it into, into the stockyard area, reclaim it and put it on trains. And our machines would have nothing to do with it unless they were producing a small supplementary amount somewhere else. But then with the likes of, some of the quite remote iron ore mines or where somebody has access to some material, it's quite an easy process. The iron ore production, it is almost done when you're crushed and screened and separated it out into the sizes. So that can be sent to port in road trains and loaded, sent direct to China typically. But yeah, these guys would start and stop with the price. When it's good, they'll be going. When it's not, they'll possibly shut down. But with a lot of the other sites, really, there's so much other infrastructure. If it's a gold mine, they're crushing, for every ton of rock, they might get a couple of grams of gold out of it, and they have to grind it after we would crush it, maybe get it down to 10 mil. They'll grind it to a powder, use cyanide and other chemicals to extract it. and it's a much more complicated process. So sometimes we'll have mobile machines in there doing that. Sometimes they'll have a fixed plant. A lot of the time they'll have material that's contaminated with mill balls, for example, which are cone crusher killers, and they want to risk putting that through their fixed plant. So they'll get in contract crushers to do it, where machines break down, or it's really wide and varied. So I suppose iron ore is a simple one in that you just crush it to a size and you send it offshore, but it's done in such huge quantities that we're only ever doing relatively small amounts. And then in most of the other mining applications, you've got a lot of downstream processing afterwards. We do find ourselves now doing a lot of ore sorter work, which is a whole different world, but we don't get involved directly in the ore sorters ourselves, but there's something I'm amazed by. But basically we would have to produce a material of a certain size that can't be separated by these ore sorters. So we're finding all sorts of niches, and it's a good opportunity for companies to run a plant relatively low capital, hire some equipment, set up a process, prove up a process, even if they do ultimately go for a fixed plant.
Could you give an indication to the size of some of these mine sites?
Again, it's such a different scale, but probably in what we would do, a big one for us, a big plant for us might be a 400 or 500 ton an hour plant. And that's going to be an iron ore plant typically of that size. So we have recently had a customer, that's a new customer, and they're, I don't want to use the term vertically integrated, but that would probably be the right way to describe it. They previously had the mine, had various contractors, haulage contractors, crushing, screening contractors, involved in all the different processes, mining contractors, and they started to take everything in-house themselves. And over the last couple of years, they've really built up quite a big fleet of Finlay equipment. They've got 4 1550 pluses, for example, so it's a relatively new machine. And they've got quite a few of them, 1480s, 984s, 893s, and they're crushing a type of iron ore. It's probably the least common type we get out there is a magnetite iron ore, which is typically more difficult to crush, but it's also magnetic, so they do some extra processing on site with magnets and upgrade their ore. They might be running 400 or 500 ton an hour through 2 separate circuits there typically. So that's probably as big a scale as we get on.
All our larger models are like 1480, 1550.
But in scale, some of the mine sites cover a massive territory.
Oh, huge.
Huge.
Yeah.
Like what sort of size? I mean, in relation to here, to County Tyrone.
Yeah. I would think there's probably plenty of them out there the size of County Tyrone, far bigger. Some of the iron ore mines, a lot of them will have satellite pits that they will maybe haul to to their main processing plant. But that's a good question. Some of them be 30, 40 kilometers across. I'm sure it's hard to know where one starts and the other stops, because the BHPs and the Rios and the FMGs and Roy Hills have such vast areas of land up there, and lots of undeveloped product that probably in the future they'll be accessing that as well. So they are huge. Western Australia is just, if you had a look at a map that shows you the tenements and where people have pegged land and have got rights to look for certain minerals, there's just thousands and thousands, especially in the gold. There could be all quite small ones, and you might find guys there running 30, 40 year old Finlay machines that are just like some of the guys you see on TV, these gold hunting guys, and they're out in the middle of nowhere just on their own, with an old screen or an old trommel or something, sort of
still getting the job done,
trying to get rich. So you meet all sorts.
That's good. And then, say you were speaking to an existing customer or a new customer, from their perspective, when it comes to the Finlay machines, like what are they really caring about when they come to you? Is it their fuel? Is it the maintenance access? What's most important to these customers?
It's really a support thing. It's obviously you need reliable equipment, and Finlay are very, very well known and very well respected. But for a customer to make a decision, it's ultimately in the mining anyway, it's not as capital price sensitive as some people may be, but they need to get runtime. And, that's got to be a combination of having reliable, well-built machines, the backup and support, the part supply, and the knowledge from our point of view. A lot of my customers and new customers you mentioned, a lot of them have never done crushing or screening before, and a lot of them it's a multi-year process before you get to that point. So really, it's I might be doing ag flow simulations for them. They tell me what sort of product they have, what they're trying to achieve, what sort of they might be running downstream. And I can't help myself. I've got a real thirst for knowledge. I need to know what the rock is going to do after I'm finished with it. And that's a good thing, because I might come up with different ways of doing things, or to help their downstream process be more efficient. But a lot of them, the partnership starts long before they ever have a crusher. And really, it's got to be that combination of having the right equipment, and even if it's the best equipment in the world, you've got to keep it running, and that's having some knowledge and support, local support, parts, after sales, yeah. So it's really got to be a combination of everything.
Whenever you say keep them running, there's a lot of machines in Australia that have a high number of hours.
There is, and again, I mentioned MLG, the guys who come over to Hillhead with us, they would have 1480s with 50, 60,000 hours. I'm not sure how many hours, but definitely, even a couple of years ago, I remember being surprised seeing machines in the high sort of 45, 48,000 hours. So, and those machines are still running. They never stop, really. A lot of the guys, they try to keep these things running around the clock. Nothing runs around the clock, but you got to have everything right. And for a contractor, it's really is a difference between, whether they're going to be successful in the industry or not, if they can get, 18, 20 hours runtime out of some machines, versus 15, 16 out of the others. And it mightn't sound a lot to some people, but when you've got shift changes, you've got fueling, you've got all the things in between, it's a really big, it's a consistency thing. And for the guys on site, it's very frustrating if for your staff, if they're dealing with unreliable equipment, waiting around for parts. It's a competitive industry out there, and most of the good guys, they want to be, when they're on site, they want to be crushing. They don't want to be waiting for a part to come, from the East Coast, from the UK. So really, it's sort of understanding what is the priority, and it's probably quite different than a lot of other parts of the world where maybe a guy can deal with a part taking a few days to get there. If it's going to save him a little bit of money, even, for example, he might choose to do that. But generally with us, it's runtime. It's get things going as quickly as you can.
It's probably something very important from our side, from the sales, when it comes to our distribution network, that they're appropriately equipped to support their existing customers, new customers, when it comes to, like Gerry said, the parts, the service, maintenance, whatever it may be.
Yeah, well, we have two very strong distribution partners in Australia, and both offer a very good sales and service and backup, and that's one of the reasons why Finlay are so successful in Australia-wide, is the fact we have strong service and support through our two distributors.
Definitely. And Gerry, what's, in your years in the field, what's machine have you came across that has racked up, as you were saying earlier on, like the biggest number you've seen in terms of hours?
I think it probably is 1480s. Large part of it being that they're the big machine that tend to be in the application where you're chasing maximum tons all the time. But having said that, we've sold about 120 883s now, and just to give the 883 I mentioned, because it's always sort of got a spot in my heart. They're pretty much all running. I only know of two that weren't running, and that's because they were butchered to put into a fixed plant. The apron feeder taken out of one, and I know guys who buy old busted ones for parts because they're running a fleet of 883s, and just tend to find that they start using it, and it keeps on going, and
just like Mr. Reliable.
Mr. Reliable.
They are. They're the jack of all trades. Really, they're great contractors machine, I would describe. They're they're not the ideal machine for a lot of applications if you are trying to screen aggregates at tight sizes or make a fine sand, but you can make them do just about anything with a few tweaks. So it's the way a lot of people start.
And would that be a model you'd say in the Australian market that would tend to not sell itself, but that most people know about it and know of it and want it?
Yeah, absolutely. They're they're known to be robust and simple, and people who tend to use them, whether they might be working for someone else and end up ultimately going out on their own years later, yeah, there's a good chance that they'll go towards an 883. Obviously, a lot of competition in that area, really, over the years, and there's other brands doing very similar things, but it still has a good name, and it's still, I'll still probably sell them because I'm believe in them so much. I just I couldn't help but almost selling an 883 to someone sometimes because they're just such a good machine. But as I say, we I don't believe in selling anyone the wrong machine for the job. I'd rather not sell a machine and really I'm in it for the long game. So been there 20 odd years now, and I have a bit of a passion for it, and also I always want to see the best solution. Sometimes that means me selling less machines, a different machine entirely than someone thinks they might need. But I kind of like to go out on site, get it set up, watch it running, and know it's know it's just doing the best it can do, really.
Like in my head there, just when you've said that, if I was your customer, just based on what you've said, I'd say you're a very trustworthy person. Like, because if you're not, just selling them something for the sake of selling them, then the customer's going to trust you at the end of the day.
Yeah, look, I nearly insulting to be called a sales rep sometimes, but I don't look at it like that at all. I don't see myself as a sales rep really, and I just I try to help people long before they're even looking at buying a machine. Just try to answer the questions, point them in the right direction, help them with anything they may need, and I don't worry too much about selling machines, and it seems to work out for me. It might come back years down the line, but if you just try to serve them, do everything they can,
Provide a solution to them.
Yeah, pick up the phone even when it's going to be an uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
But I like to get them over with and work towards a solution. So it's it's not complicated as far as I'm concerned.
A lot of people appreciate that, I'd say.
It seems to work. It's just I don't give it a lot of thought. It makes most decisions
just
very
you
simple.
the way you are, basically.
And just you're not conflicted about much. You don't think about. I don't think about what I should or shouldn't do. I sort of just think about what's the best way out of this. Even it's we all make mistakes, and if it's something's went wrong, something that I've done wrong or the business has done wrong, we'll put it right as quickly as we can and face up to it and have the hard conversations. And no one's perfect.
We didn't time this too well. It's 12 o'clock on a Wednesday and the fire alarm's blaring. We'll put in a wee music now to say doodly right there. So I suppose just to make everyone aware, we're recording today in the OMA site here, and we're in our innovation hub. So we're taking the old podcast and a few wee places and tours and see where we can take it. The people listening might even hear a few banging noises from the cutting and folding shop in behind us, but hopefully not. Gerry, you mentioned earlier on there, Hill Ahead, you brought MLG with you.
Yep.
MLG be a big customer for OPS with a big fleet of Finlay, or?
Yeah, MLG are a big customer, big fleet of Finlay as well. Really, really a company that we've grown alongside. The ML is Murray Lay, who was the owner, and back when I met Murray first, he was still working for his dad. It was just around the time he was starting out on his own, and they've grown into a massive company now, listed on the ASX. Huge haulage company running, the big quad road trains as we call them out there, and they've got hundreds of road trains. Crushing and screening, big crushing and screening contractor as well, but it's actually not the biggest part of their business. It might be 15-20% of their business, but they're probably running 40 plus Finlay machines, mostly Finlay machines. A few others in there, but mostly Finlay.
Big lot. I know Danny Monaghan from the help desk team, he actually went out, I think, and worked for them, actually on the crushing and screen side,
did,
and got
yeah,
that
he
bit of experience. I think it's a good thing for people here to go, go wherever, but Australia is obviously a good thing for the crushing and screening industry, and actually get out into the machines and work at them and know about them, and then maybe come back, and then, we're here then.
It's also good for them to go out and see the extreme conditions that machines work in on some of those mine sites in the heat and the fact that they're working, as you said, Gerry, 18, 20 hours a day between the various day shift and night shift. So they really do get put through their paces, and hence the reason some of those machines have massive amounts of hours on them.
Yeah, look, they really do, and it's sometimes it's hard to get the concept across to people who haven't witnessed it about how the priorities of runtime, even sometimes when you might look at using the price and availability of a part as an example. If you have to fly it in from somewhere, the price generally, a lot of the time, the price isn't as big a concern as the downtime, the cost of downtime, I suppose. Somebody might look at it and go, "That's crazy, you're flying in a part. We don't want to ever do it." But you would fly in a part, spend $10,000 on air freight. If that's going to get you up and running a couple of days earlier for a lot of these sites, that's a very, very easy decision to make. But it seems when you don't see it from the other side, all you can see is like some guys flying a part in for $10,000. It's just trying to align those sort of the importance of us not having to do that by having the reliable product from yourselves, by carrying the stock and everything else. It's on the ground, getting it up and running. That's generally the priority in the mining side, and it's a bit different than a lot of the other parts of the world and different people we deal with. But really, we OPS, we do crushing and screening equipment. That's what we do. Some of the other dealers might be a yellow iron dealer who have a sideline in selling crushing and screening equipment. The parts we carry, we've got a huge stock, but you come and look at our place, it's all for crushing and screening equipment. It's not, 80% for loaders and then a little bit of crushing and screening on the side. So, and that way, being specialized in it probably makes it, an easier choice in what to carry. For ourselves, we're not trying to conflict with other ranges, other brands.
Specialized dealer, is what we would call it here. Obviously, then another thing, you were here at Hillhead last week. What did you think of the show in general? Now you're probably used to that heat, maybe, but us ones here definitely aren't.
Yes, well, look, it's we complained about the heat plenty. It's it was hot, and I've been in Australia a long time, but we do run air conditioning inside. As I was talking to people here, it's if we were to put a glass box in a quarry, we wouldn't do that for a start. But if we did put a glass box in a quarry and ask people to come into it, it'd be 10, 20 degrees cooler than outside, not 10 or 20 degrees warmer, but it was, look, it was a good show. It was very hot. I have a lot of respect
The
for...
heat was a good excuse to go for refreshments.
Well, we had a few refreshments, tried our best to stay hydrated. But a lot of respect for all the staff from all the companies who were standing out there, grafting, really. I mean, just at least we could potter around and sort of escape it here and there, and talking to a few people. It's not easy for you guys, but it was a great show. I enjoy it because it's specialized crushing and screening. I've been to it a few times now, and I've been to other shows across the world and enjoy them all. But I think Hillhead's pretty special, and just seeing people who have seen over the years, lots of them from Finlay, lots of them moved on to other brands. It's a nice social sort of experience for myself. So it is as much about seeing the machines, but also building the relationships and really talking to a lot of people in the same place, whether it is customers or whether it is guys designing machines, having customers with you to try to emphasize what's important to us in Australia, where we think brands could potentially go, new products they might develop, or slight changes that are going to possibly suit our applications a little bit better. So, we're a bit selfish in that respect. We'll try and steer companies towards making products that are going to be more suitable for us. But, that's all part of it. We like to try and push with the customer and give them what they want, but also try to, get the suppliers to to make the most appropriate products for our market and our customers. So that's a good opportunity to sort of try to bridge that gap and maybe over a beer.
Did MLG enjoy it?
Yeah, the guys from MLG had a good time. Yeah, it was
Good.
yeah, it was very good. That they know a lot of people. They have quite a few guys who have worked for them over the years. Even guys coming out and working holidays and do a couple of years traveling around Australia. They might do a short period with MLG. They might do a long period. They've sponsored quite a few ex-Finlay guys as well. So, and the guys from MLG, while unfortunately the owner, well, not the owner anymore, being that they're listed, but Murray couldn't make it over. The guys who did come over, they've been with MLG for a long time as well. So, it was a good experience for us all.
Was there anything in particular, especially probably the new machines in the stand, that caught your eye? 130?
It's good to see the 130. Yeah, we had a bit of a look around it. It's not a big impactor market on the west coast in Australia. There's lots of them going to the east coast.
Yeah, a lot on the east coast.
But we are a lot more jaws and cones. It was good to get a look around the 1280 with that extended feeder on it as well and the hydraulic drive. I'm a big fan of the hydrostatic drive over the clutch or the direct drive. So good to see that model can now be offered with that and like a proper reversion feature on it. So that was a good one. The 1000, the new 1000 was there as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, C1540 plus prototype.
With the new 1000 chamber on it. So that's good to see it following the same sort of same pattern as the 1545, 1550 plus, and the options to run different liners in the same upper frame. Was always a weak spot on those.
So
really good to see that. For us on the other machines, the 45 and the 1550 plus, it's been a real positive thing to get away from all these flogging spanners and welding so much and wedges and sledgehammers and get rid of some of the
making it more useful for the customer, like easier to
look, even some people would be happy enough with that system, but it's more compliance on the mine sites. It's more they don't want you swinging sledgehammers and they don't want you cutting unless you have to. You need permits, special permits for hot works and things like that. So it's more so to make
a safe environment.
It really is, and because of a lot of the restrictions that they put on, doing the old process, it makes liner changes quicker. Even you got a guy who was absolutely proficient at the old way. The paperwork still takes time. So it's great to see, and I mean it is. Yeah, it's just a good system.
Yeah, no, testing for that machine's going really well. Probably not name the figure just yet of the increase of tons per hour, but it's fairly high. Yeah, it's fairly high in terms of increased throughput on the machine. We're obviously in Omagh. You're back in Omagh. How's your trip home been outside of Hillhead?
Yeah, it's been good. It's been jam packed really. It's always, my family are all still back here, so always happy to come back and see them. But I've managed to jam in some motorbike racing at Tandragee so I flew back from Hillhead on the Friday and went to Tandragee on the Saturday and went to a gig in Belfast on the Sunday and felt a bit sorry for myself on the Monday and and then catching up with a few of the suppliers doing this. It's something new for me, but it's
and you're originally from Omagh then?
Yeah, so I'm originally from Omagh, just outside of town. I've walked past this factory many times with no idea what it did really back years ago. But sort of the way I ended up, not too dissimilar to the way a lot of people seem to end up in this industry. I went to university up in Belfast and did an engineering degree and studied electrical and electronic engineering up at Queen's, and it wasn't really for me. I didn't realize until I was really in it, and then I was sort of stubborn and thought, well, I'm going to get the paperwork, but I would have much better. I'd have been, more suited to a trade, I think, and really something hands-on. After that, I went out to Australia for a year, traveling around backpacking, and really did various jobs. Probably my longest career outside of working for OPS was picking watermelons and pumpkins out in the Kimberley in Western Australia and living in a tent. And That was
Experience.
that was great. It was, I'd go back there some days, leave the phone at home. But yeah, after I came back from Australia, I sort of didn't really know what to do. I had no real plans, and someone happened to mention Finlay were looking. I didn't even say it was Finlay, but it was an Invest NI thing, through that Explorer program, and manufacturers in Northern Ireland looking to get people with engineering backgrounds to go and work for different parts of the world, distributing their product. So I put my hand up for it and wasn't actually sure it was Finlay at the time. It did say it was an OMA-based firm, and yeah, so I came in here. Yeah, it was funny to walk back in, and it's pretty similar to what it was 20 years ago coming in. But I came in here and did an interview, sort of started that program, and yeah, they, as part of it, they sent me over to Scotland, over to Glasgow, and was working for Tom McNeil over there
From
in
Scotland.
Yeah, and that was I didn't realize it was the test. I
Right.
didn't know it was a test, but I was wondering. Then you'd be standing out in the snow with a 9-inch grinder cutting steel, thinking, what am I learning about crushing and screening equipment here? And the 1175 was only coming out at the time. It was yeah, so it's just on just over 20 years
20
ago,
years ago,
that I went out there, and yeah, it was an experience. Yes, as I say, I didn't realize that was the test before they pay for your ticket to go to Australia. Even until shortly before I left, I thought I was going to Brisbane. It was all, didn't really know what was happening, and yeah, got a ticket for Perth anyway, and
Just swap the cold for the warm.
yeah, that's it. So landed there.
20 years. You've been out in Australia now 20 years.
Yeah, I've been out with OPS for just over 20 years now.
Some stint.
20 years in March, I
Yeah,
think.
very good, very good.
Good.
Here's to the next 20.
Yeah, we'll see.
And you come back, don't you, every year or so? Or?
Yeah, I've tended to be back. Yeah, pretty much every year. I've missed a few during COVID. Yeah, at the start, I used to come back at Christmas, and I was only, I'll say I was young back then, so I'd come back and see the folks, and Christmas was still sort of magic, but everybody was off work, and you had a few drinks as well. So
Big Christmas dinner.
big Christmas dinner, maybe, if you could look at it.
I like my Christmas dinners.
But after a few years, I stopped coming back at Christmas. I sort of wised up to it, that it was cold.
You married a New Zealand girl and have your own children.
That's it. It took me another few years after that. But yes, I did. I married someone from the only place further away from Ireland and Australia, really. So we went as far as we could, and yes, I married a woman from New Zealand, and yeah, a couple of kids now, and it's
Never look back. Love it over there.
look, it's I can never say that I'd never come home. Especially in case Mum might be listening to this. But it's
Shout out to Mum.
I've been shout out to Mum. Yeah, it's been nearly half my life out in Perth now. It's I don't know. I do love getting back here. I'd love to find a way to balance it a bit more and be back here, as well as in Australia. Especially with the folks getting older and that. But it's it's a good life out there.
Beautiful country.
It is. It's never home. I'm always conflicted by it, and yeah, if I start thinking about it, I'll not know what to say. But it's only recently that I've really sort of admitted I probably will never be back here.
And when do you actually go back? Is it this week?
Yeah, so I'm heading back on Friday. Yeah,
Not so bad.
and I'm just going to take a little bit of time off. I had time booked off. A whole head was a sort of a last minute thing for me, really, and. I'm just going to take a week off and stay at home with the family, and then back at it. Trying not to do too much work.
Very good, very good.
I suppose we're coming towards the end of our podcast now. Just another one or two things to go through with you. When it comes to Finlay in Australia, how do you see us, the brand Finlay, out there?
The Finlay brand has got massive respect in Australia. It's really there's so many machines out there now, and they're obviously quality machines, but lots and lots of people familiar with them. It's plenty of competition. Really, the brands, it's hard to argue often that there's much difference between some of the brands, particularly some of the Terex brands, and everybody's the same in that respect. But look, the Finlay, people will happily buy Finlay if it's going to be backed up, and we do get great support from the factory here, great technical support. There's no reason anybody would go anywhere else really, unless you give them some sort of reason. But yeah, it's as respected as any brand out there, and it's it's interesting that 20 years ago, that was what you put on a sand pit, because there wasn't even the crushing range. There was nothing, so we couldn't play in a lot of the places that we can play now. So it's a real credit to the brand, that the products that have been developed over the years, what's come on, and really how they've proven themselves with pretty much everything that's been out there in the last 20 years, the majority of it's still running. So it's been quite the journey, but to establish yourself so well with the existing crusher manufacturers, even just in that 20-year period, it says a lot about the brand.
Finlay have had a lot of success in Australia, and that's down to the service and backup that our distribution partners provide. OPS on the west coast and Finlay screening and crushing on the east coast both provide a very good service, and that's why we have so much success in Australia, and we're very appreciative to you and the whole wider team.
Yeah. Look, it takes a whole lot. That's sort of the way I would say it. If you can have the best team, but if you don't have the product, you're going to fall down. You can have the best product and the best team, but if you don't have the stock, you're going to fall down. It takes you got to have it all right. Well, you'll never have it all right. I'm the first to admit that, but you've got to try to you got to try to marry all those things together, and if you can do that, you stand a good chance.
It's funny you say that, because it's actually a recurring theme now, because Keith McCann are basically our top performing dealer in North America said the exact same thing. If you've good product and not good people, it's not going to work, and then vice versa. If you have good people and not good product, you need the two to marry up.
Yeah, look, and it's getting harder and harder all the time to make it all work. But that's
funny,
what we do.
It's funny that now the two of you said that.
It's very, very important. You need the whole package. You need the whole package to make it work.
Joe, have you anything that you want to ask Gerry before we get into the big question?
How many machines do you want to sell in the remainder of the year? Here, just to hear. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed your time up at Hillhead with us. Enjoyed your time back at the factory. It's always good to catch up with you, and for you to build relationships with some of the other people in the factory here that you don't maybe be communicating much with, and the wider team. So it's good to have that.
Yeah, look, I really enjoy that, and I suppose having the Irish connection and the familiarity and just the way we do things, the way the interactions I have with you guys are probably quite different to the interactions that the likes of other people in the business who aren't from here might have. So I enjoy the banter, and it's we can have the hard conversations and talk about things that maybe aren't what we would like them to be, but in a respectful way, and hopefully with a view to make a better product and provide a better service. And it's I enjoy all that sort of aspect of it too.
Yeah, it's good. So that brings us to the last bit of section of the podcast. It's the big question. So our previous guest left you a question.
Okay.
And so after the recording, when we're off air, I'll get your question for our next guest. But the question that was left to you was, what would you feel is your biggest achievement to date, both personally and professionally? Kind of two answers you need to give there in one.
Yeah, it's a big one. They're tied together so closely for me in so many ways, because I do bring a bit of work home, it's probably fair to say. Look, I do feel like I done a big part, or had a big part in bringing the Finlay, particularly the crushing equipment, to Australia, being there from the start, and really have just applied myself to it. And it's only recently I've really started to look back at the journey a bit, and sort of it is almost shocking how many machines, how many different models, and how established it is. You know, goes to a lot of the things we talked about before. So that makes me really proud. You know, and particularly when I went out to Australia, was after spending my time at uni, which I don't think I really enjoyed. It just wasn't interested in the subject, but was stubborn enough to say I want that piece of paper, which has helped me, I have to admit. So yeah, look, I'm really proud of what I've done with the crushers and screens, and yeah, particularly as I say, the crushers. You know, it's when he says professionally, I've not really had another job. I was very proud of my pumpkin picking previous to that, you know, but personally, I mean, I'm a very lucky man with the family and lovely wife and kids. I really am blessed, and miss them an awful lot. You know, I know that more and more. But I've done a lot of travel around the world. You know, we used to do a lot of adventures. You know, we did with my wife now in 2012. We drove a little 1200cc car from here to Ulaanbaatar in Mongolia for a cancer charity.
Cool.
That was the rule. It had to be 1200cc. Other than that, it was, you know, go whatever way you want, get there whenever you want, and you know that's something I'm proud of, really, and got to do with Jackie as well. So yeah, look, that's probably up there, and intend to do a few more things like that in the future, hopefully.
But what do you call the children again?
It's Lucy and Finn.
So a big shout out to Lucy and Finn from
yes.
Finlay here.
Seeing Daddy on the podcast today. Proud as punch.
I don't know if they'll make it this far.
Hopefully they do. Hopefully they do. Well, that's it for me. Gerry, thanks very much for joining us
It's a
on
pleasure.
this episode of Rock Talk with Finlay. And Joe, yourself too. Thanks for making the appearance with Gerry.
No problem.
Don't forget
Thank you.
to listen out for the next one, and I hope you enjoyed this.